Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Look, all I'm saying is that Boston women are, on the whole, a paler, uglier sort than women from the elsewheres of life.
What about Lori? She's hot.
No, Lori's from Pennsylvania. It's not a Boston girl.
They're not that bad.
See, the fact that you have to say they're not that bad means that they are that bad.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm your host Stuart, and guess I do have a call. And if you were listening to us live, sorry for the problems, we sorted it out. Alongside me is Andy. Hello.
Yeah, I'm just messing around this time.
Yeah, next time do that and I will stop the show, because then I would think that there was something seriously wrong, you idiot.
Hopefully that people in the chat, I hope they can confirm if they can hear me.
Yeah, if you can hear him, tell me so then I can cut him off. Right, so lineup we have
Seth MacFarlane's first film, Ted, and we have a small British horror film, Truth or Dare.
Yeah, you only know it's a small British horror film because I told you in the first intro. On top of that,
don't give away the secrets.
Yeah, I know. And now I'm getting messages now saying that my mic's a bit weird, but now it's saying it's better now. God, this is going to be a fun night then, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
On top of that,
live radio.
We have some movie news, but let's try the box office top 10 again. At number 10, Men in Black 3.
Yep, it's better than the second one. It's not as good as the first one. It's not as funny, I would say, as the previous films, but it is enjoyable, and it introduces the whole thing of time travel and a younger Agent K played by Josh Brolin, which is one of the things that makes it really good.
Yeah, at number 9, and you went for Bollywood film Carry On Jatta.
Which we have no idea what it's about, and we're, to be honest, unlikely to see it. I don't even think it's showing anywhere near me, and I don't think it's showing anywhere near Stuart.
Nope. Number 8, a re-entry for Pirates and an Adventure with Scientists.
Yeah, obviously doing well because of the holidays. I saw it, and to be honest, I can't remember that much of it. I remember thinking it was just okay, a bit meh, but not bad, but probably one of these things that's the Saturday morning kids showings, which is why it's done so well and come back into the top 10.
Yeah, at number 7, a surprise me went for searching for Sugar Man, and he said that.
We haven't seen this. It is a small release. It's kind of like an art house film. It's a documentary about some guys that were trying to find this singer who was big in, I think it was South Africa.
Yeah, it was in the 70s, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, a singer, and then one album that he released, and then apparently disappeared or died, and they're trying to find out what happened to him. It's been getting good word of mouth on it, so I'm not surprised it's into the top 10, but it's doing all right. I mean, it's taken over 60,000 for a small film. I don't think it's got that big a release. 27
screens has actually been shown on. So that's a tiny release. Number 6, the 5-year engagement.
Which is still hanging in there with Jason Segel and Emily Blunt as a couple who get engaged, and it gets postponed until it's been a 5-year engagement.
Yeah, number 5, Magic Mike,
which is the surprising film for me of the top 10, because it's a really decent performance from first of all Channing Tatum, second of all Matthew McConaughey, and thirdly you've also got I've forgotten his name, but the guy who everything I've seen him in has been really
Alex
bad.
Pettifer.
Yeah, everything I've seen him in up till this has been a really bad, terrible performance. And in this, Steven Soderbergh actually managed to get a great performance out of his cast, and he reins in the cast as many A-list actors as possible.
Yeah, number 4, Amazing Spider-Man,
which I saw again this week for the 3rd time. Loved it even more. As a Spider-Man fan and a fan of the original comic, I think it is the best of all of the 4 films that have been made. It's a shame that it is so closely on the heels of the other ones, because it does deserve recognition of that. But I think it's suffering because of that. But a really good film and enjoyable. As I say, loved it as a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, number 3, Ice Age Continental Drift.
I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, I have. It has a very simple storyline, like the other Ice Age films. With every single one of the movies, the storyline gets more simpler. That's because they have to make it a PG, well, a U actually in this case, so they can't do too much with it. There is still some funny jokes in the movie, and Scrat is obviously the star, like he has been during every single one of the films. It hasn't done as brilliantly as was expected of it, but there probably will be a chance the fifth one will be out in a couple of years' time. Yep, number 2 in innuendo for Dr. Seuss's The Lorax.
Yeah, it's from the same studio that did Despicable Me, and it suffers from the same problems as Despicable Me. It's perfectly fine throughout. The animation is okay, but the characters are just a little bland. It's not as funny as it really should be, and the background characters, like the minions in Despicable Me, are what steals the show.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. If you've watched the trailer for it, the trailer makes it out to be this epic film that it is, but it's not. The little tiny critters are the star of the show. The Lorax is probably in the film for about 15 minutes. And number 1, still, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, still hanging in there, still doing really well for itself. What else is there to say other than Christopher Nolan's finale to his Batman trilogy?
Yeah, apart from the fact that Warner Brothers is mourning a little bit, seeing that The Dark Knight Rises hasn't done as well as it would have if it wasn't for the Aurora shootings.
Well, I mean, that can't be helped. I don't think that is necessarily part of the problem that the film has. The film, I love the film, I really do, but it does have problems that certain audiences will not enjoy it as much as they should. And I know that there are some people who hate certain aspects of it, which has meant they've not gone back for repeat viewings, which is what Warner Brothers were banking on with this film.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be the last week. It's going to be number 1 for us anyway. So,
well, I'm not entirely sure now. I mean, it's held off. It's held off for the 3rd week in the States, so it might do here.
No, it won't be, because the only reason why is it needs to take more in the chart this week than it did last week, because Ted, in early estimates, it's taken £9.3 million in its first weekend. So The Dark Knight Rises needs to take more than 9.3, and it only took just over 7 million. So I don't think it will. It'll be Ted that'll be number 1. So right, well, let's get on with some movie news then. In an interview with Dan Aykroyd, he has finally officially confirmed that Bill Murray will not appear at all in Ghostbusters 3. Talking to the Metro newspaper in the UK, he said, "I can tell you he won't be involved. It's sad, but we're passing it on to a new generation. Ghostbusters 3 can be a successful movie without Bill. My preference would be to have him involved, but at this point he doesn't seem to be coming, and we have to move on. It's time to make the third one." I've got thread written down.
Well, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the Ghostbusters films, to be honest. But I have, as much as I have seen them, I think I've seen the second one more than the first one, which is unfortunate because it's the worst of the two. I'm not so sure that this is a great idea. This is one of those ones that I think should be left alone. They shouldn't bring it back, especially if they can't get everyone back involved. Even in a small part, they need to have him in a small part.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There are rumours where that even if he was going to be in a small part, he would be like Ghost or something. And so even if that's the case, then at least he's in the film. But I agree with you. It'll be like if they did a sequel to The Goonies.
Ugh, don't say it. Don't suggest it.
Yep, the Hollywood Reporter are reporting that, I know I used reporter too many times, that Ridley Scott is actively pushing forward with a sequel to Prometheus that should come out in 2014 or 2015. However, it looks like screenwriter Damon Lindelof will not be on board for the sequel.
Yeah, and a small cheer goes up to all the people who are like excited about that, because a lot of people didn't like the things that it appears he brought to Prometheus, which I kind of did. I like some of the questions that he's written into it. I knowing his style from things like Lost and other shows that he's been involved in, I don't mind the way he worked in the film. It's just I know a lot of people weren't pleased with the film, so it's it's one of those things that no one's ever going to like. There's never going to be 100% people like a film.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that. Sony have said they want to snag the services of director John M. Chu to make a new He-Man film. Chu's latest film has not had a smooth ride, with G.I. Joe Retaliation being pushed back to March 29th next year. However, Sony want the director to bring us back to the world of Eternia.
Well, considering that in the first one they didn't really bring us to the world of Eternia, it's not back. It's just be bringing us to the world for the first time. Because as much as the other one was, I saw it. I think how old I was now.
There is little bits of the first film that is set in Eternia.
Well, but it's terrible. It's largely terrible. The other film, the one with Dolph Lundgren, and I mean, do you need to say anything more than that? Dolph Lundgren as He-Man.
As you can tell from that silence, no. And my final piece of news story is some of Fast and Furious 6 will be shot in Glasgow. However, none of the main cast, including Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson and Paul Walker, will be present at the time. Scenes of the film will shoot on Cadogan Street and Broomlow, and that's where some of World War Z was shot in Scotland as well, and a few other films.
Well, so that means it'll probably be stunt shots doubling for some city in America somewhere or somewhere else. That's what they did with World War Z. It was doubling for I think it was San Francisco. Though I might be wrong on that. So that's probably why there won't be any major cast there, because of the fact it will all be car shots and there will just be cars racing along the streets at 100 mile an hour.
Yep.
Comedian Russell Brand may be replacing Jim Carrey in his latest movie Pierre. Brand will play an obnoxious Frenchman who steals the Mona Lisa and tries to move it from Paris to London while dealing with a French police inspector and avoiding his mother, who runs a brothel.
Ah, lovely. Typical Walden for Brandon, isn't it? Perfectly suited for him.
Yeah, expect lots of alcohol jokes and drug jokes, I expect. Although probably still edited down for a 12A rating. Amazing Spider-Man director Mark Webb may not be free to direct the movie's sequel. Though he's expressed interest in doing so, the director's under contract to Fox Searchlight, the studio that made his movie 500 Days of Summer, for at least one more film with them. Searchlight are apparently unwilling to work with him to wait for him to make another Spider-Man movie, but Sony needs to have work started on the sequel soon in order to get it ready for a May 2nd, 2014 release that they've announced for the sequel. Newspaper LA Times indicates that Fox may consider giving Webb the time he needs if he committed to a 2-picture deal with them.
Yeah, it's really strange. First off, they shouldn't have announced a release date for a sequel. They just should not have done that. If they didn't have a director fully tied down, if they weren't even sure that Webb was going to be involved, why shoot yourself in the back and say that it's going to be out then? Because then you're going to have to delay it until they can find a director, because they're going to have a short period of time in shooting a sequel.
It probably hasn't even got a script yet. So, I mean, it's the way that Hollywood is at the moment. As soon as there's a big film, we're going to need a sequel. We release it when we'll decide, and then we'll make it. Yeah, it seems a bit backwards to me.
Exactly.
The former Doctor Who actor Christopher Eccleston has been cast as the villain. Now I'm gonna probably screw this up. Malekith the Accursed in Thor: The Dark World. In the comics, the character was leader of a race that stole something called the Casket of Ancient Winters, which was apparently seen in the armory of Asgard in the first Thor movie. The role had previously been filled by Casino Royale actor Mads Mikkelsen, who ultimately had to leave due to a scheduling conflict with his role in the new Hannibal television series.
It'll be interesting to see him as a bad guy. He's played a bad guy in
G.I. Joe, wasn't 60 Seconds. Yeah, he was in Gone in 60 Seconds as well. So,
yeah, might work. You never know.
I'm not entirely convinced. The difference between him and Mads Mikkelsen is they're quite a contrasting pair of actors.
Yeah.
My final piece of news for the evening. Sequel to X-Men First Class has been given the title. It will be called X-Men Days of Future Past. New title was confirmed by producer Bryan Singer this past week when he spoke to website IGN, and tongue-tied. In an interview, he confirmed that the movie story will be based in part on the X-Men comic series of the same title, but that new things will be added.
Interesting name. Very long name, but it's an interesting name.
Well, I don't know that I don't know that particular one, but it suggests that there's going to be something involved, time travel related. So I wonder if we're going to see how this would tie in and link in with the previous X-Men films that have been.
Yeah, maybe. Right, let's go for an ad break. This is for the Games Cast, which is on a Friday night at 9 o'clock.
Right, advert. What do I need to say in an advert? Well, I need to say that we're the Gamescast. I need to say that we're on Twitter at the Gamescast. I need to say we're on Facebook. I need to say we've got a website, thegamescast.com, and I need to say we're on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we're on this thing called Spreaker.com. Don't know where that came from. What else? That's probably it. Right, better record it. Oh, crap. That was 30 seconds. The Gamescast. Grown-up gamers talking about games. Allegedly.
And welcome back, so let's get into the first review.
Ted, which is Seth MacFarlane, who is a name will be familiar to a lot of Family Guy fans. He's the guy who created that. He's created and directed this movie. It stars Mark Wahlberg as John Bennett, who, as a child, one night after being given a huge teddy bear for a Christmas present, wishes that this teddy bear could be alive and be his friend forever. Magically, the teddy bear then comes to life, surprising him and everyone, his parents, who see it as a miracle. It cuts to then 27 years later, when the two of them are still together, still being best friends, and the world has accepted Ted for who he is. Here's a clip.
I met a girl. She's a cashier.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, well, what's her name?
White trash name. Guess.
Mandy.
No.
Brittany? Tiffany? Janice. All right, speed round. I'm going to rattle off some names when I hit it buzzing, okay? You got me?
Yeah.
All right, Brandy, Heather, Channing, Brianna, Amber, Sabrina, Melody, Dakota, Sierra, Bambi, Crystal, Samantha, Autumn, Ruby, Taylor, Tara, Tammy, Lauren, Charlene, Chantel, Courtney, Misty, Jenny, Krista, Mindy, Noelle, Shelby, Trina, Reba, Cassandra, Nikki, Kelsey, Shauna, Jolene, Erlene, Claudine, Savannah, Casey, Dolly, Kendra, Kylie, Chloe, Devin, Emma, Luke, Becky?
Nope.
Wait, was it any one of those names with a Lynn after it?
Yes.
I got you. Brandy, Headley, Jamie Lynn. Ah!
So that's pretty much all there is to explain story-wise, setting it up, because there isn't a massive amount of story to it other than a few things which we don't want to spoil here. The thing is with Ted is that it's all based around this friendship between Mark Wahlberg's character John Bennett and Ted, which is just a gigantic teddy bear which walks around and is a live, walking, talking bear. The thing is that it's a gamble that they made doing this. Seth MacFarlane, as anyone who knows his kind of thing from Family Guy, his kind of humour, it's exactly that same kind of humour. It's not especially anything new. It doesn't bring anything especially new to the sort of comedy genre. But the thing is that this works on so many levels that it's unbelievable. It's one of the funniest films that I've seen in recent years, and that's saying something considering that there have been films which have been funny but have not been tastefully funny. There are jokes in this film which border on the crass humour, which is all to do with this character of Ted, which is voiced by Seth MacFarlane, as you heard there in that clip. And this all centred around this friendship between these two characters. And even though one of them is a completely CGI'd character, he's full of life. He's brilliantly brought to the screen, and it just works. I saw it in an almost sold out cinema. The audience absolutely had a ball. I definitely laughed. I think 60 times is more accurate than to say 6 times, and deservedly so. It's got a heartfelt thing to it as well towards the end, where there is a bit of an emotional thing. It's not really, you don't get really emotionally wrought in with it, but it's a brilliant film that you should see this with anyone who doesn't like sort of a weird sort of films like this that have a CGI character in them. Trust me, they're gonna laugh their head off.
Yeah, I have problems with. I've got any bets. I've got problems with my mic. Have I?
Sounding a bit weird, but go on.
Yeah, I have problems with comedy films, but even I found this funny. I honestly, I laughed more than the 6 times easily during the first 15 minutes of the film. I definitely laughed more than the 6 times. Easy.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd say that the thing is that half of it is kind of shock humor, but it's like I said, there is toilet humor in this film. There's no getting away from it. Most comedies now have it, but unlike some other films, like for example the Hangover films, which you have that line of willing to cross or not, whereas the Hangover would gladly run a mile across that line and not give a damn. Ted walks that line very, very fine line-wise, and that makes the decisions that, as much as some of them are, there is one thing, we won't spoil it, but there is one thing which sort of sets up something happening in the film, and it is literally a moment that I was like, oh no, but thankfully it was handled well, and it genuinely made me laugh, and it made everyone in the audience laugh.
Yeah, there is a gross out humour in the film, but what do you expect? You're obviously going to get some really bad gross out humour, and there is one scene that people who were sitting in front of me were just in hysterics at, which is probably one of the grossest scenes in the film. There are 2 really big gross scenes in the film, and it was the first one at the supermarket. That sent them off in the biggest hysterics, and I'm not a huge fan of gross out humour, but I was dead with laughter on both of those scenes, and it was the whole entire film which I really did find funny. I like I said, I find a problem with comedy films.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's just this film knocked it out of the park for me.
It should be noted that this film is that good that both Stuart and I, who don't particularly get on great with comedies, agree that it is one of the funniest films we've both seen.
Definitely, it's better than 21 Jump Street for me as comedy of the year.
Definitely, for me as well.
Because I found 21 Jump Street really funny, but this is definitely my comedy of the year.
Yeah, no, for me, 21 Jump Street had like I said in the reviews of that, half of the jokes fell a bit flat for me. In this, I don't think there was any moment where I was like, that's not funny, or there wasn't a single moment where I didn't have a smile on my face at the jokes, even some of the gross out ones, which if you've seen the uncut trailer, you would think that's maybe a lot of the jokes there and they've shown too much. They haven't shown half of the jokes. They've shown some of them. They've shown, you haven't seen the punchlines, which you would possibly expect to have seen that trailer. But trust me, there is more to this film than in the trailers.
Yep, definitely. Actually, don't watch the trailer, just go to see the film.
No, I mean, I'm saying that for anyone who's already seen it, but...
Yeah, that's true. Right, I'll quickly get over the other film that we've got, Truth or Dare, because it's a small British film which is getting released today. It isn't distributed around the country properly. It's getting a key city release, so it'll be in cinemas where you are, but not in very many cinemas. It's a horror film. It's directed by Robert Heath. It has a simple premise. The film opens up at a party where a group of kids are obviously drinking, they're taking drugs. They decide to be a truth or dare, hence the title of the film. After this party, one of the kids is ridiculed there, so it cuts 2-3 months later where supposedly he's invited these people who ridiculed him to his birthday party. They turn up at his house. Unfortunately, the house has been locked down and they get told that the party is being held in a cabin in the middle of the woods. You can probably guess where things are going now. They get to the cabin. They discover that that person's not there. Instead, it's his brother. His brother turns around and says that, he's in a different country, he's in Greece somewhere. He was supposed to have come home for his birthday party, but he hasn't come home. You can stay here for the night, enjoy the food, enjoy the alcohol that's here. But unfortunately, the brother has ulterior motives, because the people in the cabin discover that the person ended up committing suicide, and the brother wants to know why his brother committed suicide. Now, it's a very simple premise thing. It's like a cabin in the woods kind of film in a way. It's a small British horror movie. There are no scares in it whatsoever. But for a small British horror film like this, it's not too bad. It suffers from problems where everything has been done before, and in some films it's actually been done better. But overall, it's not too bad considering that the cast is full of unknowns. There's a few decent gory scenes in it. There's the typical, obviously, characters that you'd have seen before. There's like a jock kind of person who's big and almighty. There's the bitch of the group who thinks that she's high above everybody else. But overall, it's not a bad British horror film. It'll be released on DVD and Blu-ray very soon, because with it only getting a very limited release. But if it's shown in a cinema close to you, then and you want a horror film, because there aren't any out at the moment at the cinema, then by all means just go and see this. It'll pass away in 90 minutes fine. Right, that's it for this part of the show. We've gone through this week's cinema show very quickly. And loads of mic problems and sound problems and stuff like that, and I hate Spreaker at the moment, so we'll be back in a moment.
Don't curse it, we've still got another half to go yet.
Yeah, we'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show. If you listen to us on iTunes, please download the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show as well, so we will be back in a moment.